there is a report, and I didn't see it, so I'm just going to ask. But there was a report that one of these early vignettes that were done had Sergeant Slaughter pointing a weapon at the camera, and I guess some people were up in arms about that. I mean, obviously, that sort of thing happens on television and things like that all the time. But I guess if we are skewing younger and we're aiming at kids, and I know it wouldn't happen today, but like when I was a kid, man, I can't tell you how many toy guns I had and all that sort of jazz. If I saw it, I don't remember it being a big deal as a kid, but I certainly, in researching this episode, read about that. Do you remember that particular vignette or any backlash that came because of it?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say there were two that were done. I want to say the one with the rifle, but also with the tank and looking down the barrel of the tank as well. So again, this is getting into where the reality of the situation and being in it at the time. When I'll make this point up front before we get into it, the traditional, you look at it, our business, and the traditional heels in this business have always been of foreign descent. So you had your Japanese heel that was reminiscent of, Pearl Harbor, and they were nasty heels. So any Japanese wrestler had to be a heel. You had your Cold War, Russians. You had your German Nazis from World War II. And they were always portrayed as heels because they had fought against the United States. And in all of those scenarios, the United States always came out victorious in the wars, but they had long since passed. The wars were over. The United States had been victorious. There wasn't the news cycle that gave you 24-hour coverage of wars where you could turn on a news channel and see in real time the destruction of said war that you're watching right now. We never had that as Americans. We had newspaper, you had radio, and you had your evening news that told you about what was happening overseas. You saw pictures, you saw, film clips and things, but they were clips. It wasn't consuming, if you chose to, your everyday life. Times have changed. So people are viewing the conflict in a different light through a different vehicle. And while you could get away with bringing in usually a French Canadian to be a Russian or a German, because they had a bit of an accent and they could affect that accent to be Russian or German. And most people in Tennessee never had really heard what a German sounds like. And so when they hear this person talk, they're from Germany. Well, by God, that must be because they talk funny. They talk funny. So now you're in the 90s. You've got CNN. You've got news channels that are feeding you this anytime you want it. And it's happening in real time. And you turn on your television for entertainment purposes to your wrestling show. And now there's a guy in the ring who is sympathetic to our enemy that I just watched, bomb someplace. And my neighbor's kid is going overseas. My kid's going overseas. It's hitting home in real time in a completely different delivery system. Even if you're, in World War II, your son or your daughter, your neighbor's kids are in the war. Well, there's just they're away serving their country. That it was a different view and a completely different psychological effect on people because they didn't see it every day. They didn't get reports from the front lines every single day the way that they did in 1990. And we're playing into that as if, there's no real war at this point. He's a bad guy. We're the good guys. And it's okay. And I also believe that there was a viewpoint in the country, and even as time has gone on, that even at home, the patriotism wasn't quite as strong as it was in the early 1900s and up until the 60s, and then it became with the Vietnam War, where there was, wait a minute, I don't like America now because of this war happening in a foreign land. So again, we're getting so much information, some good, some bad, some accurate, some not, but you have access to it now. And that changes the viewpoint of how people are now looking at what they're looking at. And if they're going to get entertainment, I believe that they're looking for an escape from that stark reality that they see all around them everywhere else in real time.
We should talk a little bit about Adnan KC. He's going to be brought in from the LPWA to work with the company here. I guess there's some discussion about, we're going to sue and yada yada from their side, but they wind up settling and developing some sort of a relationship. What can you tell us about Tor Berg, the LPWA, and Mr. Adnan?
I don't know nothing about Tor or the LPWA, but Adnan al-Kaisi, Iraqi, who came over 50s, 60s, but he came and went to Oklahoma. Paul Bosch actually got him in because he was a wrestler in Iraq, and got him to go, and he played football, he wrestled, and then got into wrestling because that's what he knew, that's what he loved, and wrestled, as a journeyman, always a baby face. Then he became Billy White Wolf, and was portrayed as a Native American. Very, very popular, did very well at that, and then as time went on, went back to his roots as a heel Iraqi. And now with everything going on with Iraq, and I think people previously kind of didn't know what Iraq was, where it was, or who it was. And now there was a face attached to it, and Saddam Hussein and Adnan, again, they exploited it first in the AWA, and then we brought him in here because he was real. He was the real deal. He actually knew Saddam Hussein in school. They were friends. Same age, same everything.
There's a report out that you guys actually considered calling him Saddam KC. Do you recall that? Was that ever thrown around?
I don't think so. If anything, somebody had said it was just to change the name, but it was, look, Sheikh Adnan al-Kaisi was, we dropped the Sheikh part of it because we made him a general. People understood, the general part of it, and made him a general. But his real name, I thought, was authentic enough and worked.
Talk to me a little bit about why the need for a second like this. Do you come to that realization that, hey, we're going to need somebody to be with Sarge on the heels of the brother love thing? Like, we knew as wrestling fans and WWF fans more specifically to hate brother love. So his association with you, okay, we get it. He's a heel. But given what's happening across the world now, is that the thinking? Hey, if we present this guy, now it's easier to process, like, because I think some fans would just see like the photo we're looking at right now on YouTube at somethingtowrestle.com. If you didn't see the left side of your screen and you just saw the right side of your screen, you'd say, oh, hell yeah, Sergeant Slaughter. You need the pairing in order for it to really click that, oh, wait, this isn't the Sergeant Slaughter I remember.
Exactly. Look, Adnan looked like the heels that were being portrayed on every news station, and he looked very similar to Saddam Hussein, and same age, same country, same everything. And Adnan, also, Adnan was conflicted because Adnan still had family in Iraq, and Adnan was sympathetic. The truth be told, Adnan was trying to get his family to America. And Adnan loved the United States of America for all the opportunities that it gave him and hated everything that was happening in Iraq. So he was very conflicted because here he's portraying, you know, Iraq this and Saddam Hussein and all this other stuff. But in reality, he's fighting to get his family out and get them to safety in America. So, a lot of just intricacies in this whole story of where we were at the time, and we were just running fast, and things were moving very quickly. So you're trying to stay ahead, but at the same time, shit's moving all around you.